can say Shabbat Shalom. I can also say that I was so badly in need of a nap after yesterday's services. I don't know if any of you were, but it seemed that this year God wasn't the nicest placing Shabbat right after Rosh Hashanah, but then God ups God's self next week because Shabbat and Yom Kippur are together. So it is very nice. It's going to be a super long service, but probably not as long as yesterday. So, you're the only one awing at this part. I want to thank Joyce for not only being here tonight, but for the whole High Holidays. Between Joyce and Barbara and myself, and all of your musicians, it just was a real highlight to lead this congregation, so thank you. I'm joined on the bima by Logan Sembler, our newest Board of Trustees member, but also just was the best, don't tell Jake that, the best security and greeter in the world. That's what I'll say. Don't tell him. No, it's great to have you up here on the bima. I also, tonight's pre-neg was sponsored by Jerry Lee DiGennaro in honor and in memory of her mother, Lee. So it was so beautiful to be able to honor her in that way, and thank you for hosting that. I want to say a special thank you. The birthday girl just got here. I want to say a special thank you to Steve for being Steve and greeting back there. And tonight, Rebecca Barancic is going to be giving the announcements, and also to Gary, the newest member of our maintenance staff, because I erroneously told Bobby to put away these books. I thought, oh, we're done. But Shabbat Shuva is in them. So I want to thank all of them. And for everyone who's online tonight, it is wonderful. We're at about 40 to 50 viewers that join us each Shabbat. And tonight I heard of someone who is in hospice who is watching us, not a member, but a previous member. And I think, that's the whole point. Remember, I talked about some things that came out of COVID that really allowed us to be in people's lives in a meaningful but a different way. And I think being able to have services wherever you are is one of the best gifts that we got. So we are going to begin on page 10 with our candle blessing. I would love to call Logan up to do this surprisingly, to light candles with us on page 10. On their toes, I'd like to, you can say no, but if Helen and Cecile will come light the the Kiddush blessing, I would love to. I'll bring it to you. Look at the face. No way. Come on up. As they're coming up, I'm going to tell you, at my last congregation, I got in so much trouble that I asked a man to do the candles and women to do the wine just when I first got there. Please, then they realized how that was not okay, but I do understand some people believe it's a gendered blessing, and it is not. It is not. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei bria ka'amen. Page 12. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzamanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hikilanu So I was thinking, I don't think I've stopped thinking about it, but October 7th is coming up, and this is the Shabbat immediately prior. And I thought it appropriate to go ahead and light a yahrzeit candle at the beginning of this service. And when I thought about reading all of the names, do you know there were hundreds and hundreds? What a sad statement and a sad truth. And I can tell you, even if I read those names of people still remaining, please God, in captivity and maybe not dead, even that's such a long list. I want to light a candle because we don't know who's where, and we don't know where we go after we're here. But the light of a candle does something that really touches my soul, and I hope that you'll find this prayerless lighting of a candle as powerful as I hope that it can be. We continue with our Shabbat singing on page 22 with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela.
Verse 1.
Shamor v'sachor b'dibur echad, Yishmi'anu elam echad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litchila la 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 Dodi, likrat likrat hala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat hala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Likrat Shabbat
Verse 2.
lechu v'me'acha, ki mekor averaha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila la 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 Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat hala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat hala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela.
Rise and face the back.
Ateret ba'ala, gam b'simcha uv'tohona, tokenunei am segula, oi hala, oi hala.
Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat hala,
Penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat hala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. La 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 la. Dodi, likrat likrat hala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat likrat hala, penei penei Shabbat lekabela.
You may be seated. We turn to page 24 for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתגדל ויתקדש ברבה.
Amen.
ויעמד יברח ירטה וימליך מלכותה.
וחי
יחון וביום אחד ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם עולמי יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שבי לקודשה בריחו לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבעתה ונחמתה דמירן
Amen. As we move into the next part of our service, beginning with the Baruch Hu, I invite you to please rise if you are able, page 26. The note on the bottom of page 26. Remember, I reminded you all that you didn't have to follow every page as I said it, and sometimes I take my own advice and read what's on the page differently from where I'm asking you. But if you look at the note that starts with "Bless the Eternal," do you see that at the bottom of 26? So the Baruch Hu is actually not a prayer, it's what we call a call to worship. And if any of you have ever been to Israel, or in any actual Arab nation where you hear over the speaker the call to worship, that is the Muslim call to worship. This is the Jewish call to worship, the Baruch Hu. And it is an invitation, and in fact, the first line for the Shliach Tzibur, for the person running the service, I'm asking on behalf of God to the congregation, are you ready to be here? And you have the option to answer back. And it's nice that you guys bow and answer back, but I don't know that you know you're bowing and answering back, that you're ready to be here. So I was reading this note, I'm just gonna read it out loud. Why the need to be summoned to prayer? Perhaps because it doesn't come easily or naturally. To pray is so necessary and so hard. Hard not because it requires intellect or knowledge or a big vocabulary, but because it requires of us humility. And that comes, I think, from a profound sense of one's brokenness and one's need. Not the need that causes us to cry, "Get me out of this trouble quick," but the need that one finds every day of one's life, even though one does not acknowledge it, to be related to something bigger than oneself, something more alive than oneself, something older and something not yet born that will endure through time. It's really beautiful. You know, I don't often think of praying as being difficult, and it is. I think some people never get to a point where they feel comfortable praying. But I love this idea that it's ancient and brand new at the same time. And that this call to worship, you actually have until the Amidah, the middle of the service, to actually be present and ready to pray. So you've got like 3 more prayers if you're not there yet, okay? But that is true. That is what the rabbis teach us, is that you don't have to answer a call. Think about our prophets. Many of them did not want to answer God's call to be a prophet. In fact, many of them would have really rather not been chosen to be messengers of God. Think about how many times in our lives we're told we need to tell someone some bad news, or we need to share some news with someone, and God, I wish it wasn't me, right? We're not always ready to answer the call, and that's, I think, is a wonderful thing to say, that maybe acknowledging how difficult that is very real. So we continue now with the words of the Shema. On page 28, actually, we continue with the reading of Ma'ariv Aravim. I've been so blown away with how many of you know Hebrew or read the Hebrew prayer. So we're going to do this prayer in Hebrew, and if you want to join along, that would be wonderful, on page 28. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishaneh itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem ba'akia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom uvein laila. Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Bottom of the page. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. You should know how impressive that is for a Reformed congregation. And I'm not saying that in any light or demeaning way. It's wonderful to be part of a congregation that is knowledgeable in that way. I'll tell you, Ezra's here with his best friend Ariel tonight from Miami, and Alana's here as well, a very close friend of mine. And they go to Camp Coleman. They've known each other since they were infants. We had an ECC at our synagogue that started at 9 weeks, and the boys have known each other since then. But they go to Camp Coleman together now, which is our connection to our Miami family. And the unit that Ariel is about to be in, and Ezra just finished, is called Kochavim, stars. And I saw that when that word came up in the prayer, they both peaked up.
Thank you.
We start younger than we know, starting to recognize our Judaism. And so we're so glad to have Ilana and Ariel here tonight. We're going to continue now with the Shema on page 32. If you're able to, I invite you to please rise. Custom, page 34, we begin the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom alevavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta ba'am beshivtecha b'meitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha Ve'hayu latotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lehiot lachem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem, emet. Let's read together on page 39. Kindness. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go, so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you. He, too, was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak to it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere like the shadow of a friend. We often have heard, love your neighbor as yourself. And this is a beautiful interpretation of that. Ve'ahavta, what we chanted, is also the same idea, love your neighbor as yourself. I'm not sure that it takes sorrow to really understand joy. I understand that that is what the poet is sharing, but I certainly know it takes getting to know another to learn about ourselves better. And I think so often we do a great job at getting to know the other that's like us, and not as well as getting to know the other that is not like us. And so this Shabbat, I want to put out there that maybe we can connect with some people that aren't like us. However you define yourself and however you define not like you, I think it's time that we get a little bit uncomfortable with who we are comfortable with, because there is so much more in common between faiths, between races, between religions, between sexuality, between gender identity, everything, between professions, between generations, that the more we can concentrate on how we can come together, the more we actually get what this prayer is about. That we have to look at another as we look at ourselves and the way that we want to be looked at. So we are going to continue now with the singing of Mi Chamocha on page 40. With the singing of Vishamru, let all of Israel keep Shabbat.
Shabbat, la sot el ha-Shabbat.
There's some old NES Nintendo game. Logan, you're too young. I don't know who out here would be playing NES. No, you play the new one, but I feel like Anthony, we might be contemporaries in this. There's a song that ends the exact same way. I think it's either Donkey Kong or there's something. It's either the end of Paperboy, but it's like.
Maybe that's why it sounds so familiar.
I don't know. I love it. It feels like home, but from a different home, a non-Jewish Nintendo home. At page 48, in a moment we're going to do the Amidah, but I was thinking that I don't think I've ever taught why we do this Adonai Tzfatai Tiftach. So for the high holidays, we often will read the parsha that includes Hannah, right? Hannah can't have a child. Hannah is crying out at the gates, and the only thing that can come to her mouth is a whisper. She's so upset that she can't even utter a word to God, and so she whispers a sentence to God, and this is the sentence. Adonai tzvatai tiftau fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. And I love that it's put at the beginning of our central prayer. This was added later, this section. Sometimes we can't even open our mouths to utter praise, and sometimes we still have to keep moving forward. And I think, before this is really where the service climaxes at this point. And to know that immediately prior, our liturgists recognize that maybe we're not there. I love that. I love that we're given that opportunity to not be fully ready to give praise, but to be fully ready to be here. And this was the point I said you had to get to be ready by the Baruch Hu. So you're ready. So we're going to rise. If you're able to turn to page 48.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zoker Chastei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ah. Zokrenu lechaim, Melech Chafetz b'chaim, V'chofenu b'sefer chaim, Le'eman ha'Elohim, Melech Gozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mekayeh hakol atah Rav le'Oshia, Mori atah, Mechalkel hayim behesed, Mekayeh hakol berakadmim rakbim, Sohomek noflim verofeh oholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'gevurot, Ulmido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umat yeyak Yeshua, Mihamocha el chakarim, Zoker yetzirav, Achayim berakamim, V'ne'eman atah lakayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalu hasela, Baruch atah Adonai Hamelech HaKadosh.
You may be seated. I guess I should have began by saying this is Shabbat Shuva. Shabbat Shuva is the Shabbat in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It is special for a few different reasons, but one of them is what we just experienced. There's specific insertions that come in this high climactic prayer of the Amidah. It speaks to the Chatima we just said, speaks to God as being the king of all, as opposed to just an unending source of holiness. There's also a part in here that talks about God being merciful and tender and compassionate. So some of the 13 attributes of God get reintroduced to this prayer during Shabbat Shuva. We have both sides of the parent going on here. And so that's why when it got to grayscale, we included those parts. I know for some people who are from a non-Jewish background, it's sort of like when the red appears in the prayer book and it's the inserted thoughts of Jesus that come in there. When I first was in rabbinical school, this prayer book was not out. And it was Gates of Prayer, and it was written in red, all of the Shabbat Shuva things. And I know for some of my classmates who either came from an interfaith family or they themselves converted, it was very confusing as to why our text then switched to red. So this is in grayscale. I just thought that would be an interesting addition, possibly not. Okay, so we are on page 68, and we are at our moments of gratitude. And so if you have anything that you want to share out loud that you're grateful for, it's not that keeping it to yourself isn't okay. It's that sometimes we say it out loud and people find that contagious. Oh, right, that is something I'm grateful for. So if there's anything that you want to share that you're grateful for, just go ahead and raise your hand. And yes, please.
I'm grateful for all the people that I met here. It's so kind to me, so really appreciate it. I haven't been there for that long, but I made some really good friends.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you. Ezra? Ezra said he's grateful that Ariel and Ilana are here. And I'll tell you, do not stop by our house. It's very loud. Yes, Jackie.
I'm grateful that we're in a position where we can help others this week. That feels good.
It does feel good. I'm going to repeat it for everyone who's at home, that we're in a position where we can help others this week. It's something we can always be doing, and yet sometimes we need to be reminded. But then we're not always in the position that we can help, and sometimes we need to accept help ourselves. Absolutely. Yes, please. Yes, born in Israel, right? A new grandson born in Israel. Mazel tov. I don't know how you're old enough, but anything? Oh, and you don't have to, but yeah. So Logan said he's grateful that he was not affected by the storm because so many were. Absolutely. And you know, it allows us to be helpers in that sense. I felt a lot of guilt, honestly. I'll be very honest that we were not hit horribly, and definitely not on the inside. And then I realized, but that puts us in the position Jackie's talking about where we can reach out and help others. So I'm grateful that you were not affected in that way. Anyone else? Remember I told you a few weeks ago my friends Shimon and Kat texted in that they're pregnant. So this is week 18, so they're grateful because it's Chai on Rosh Hashanah. So that's awesome. And Grandma Morrison, who some of you may have met, is grateful to be watching and to be back home, which is great. They're back in Miami and where everyone's grandparents live, Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach. So, anything else? I'm grateful that Debbie is here. She had a birthday yesterday, and it's nice to see you here. I got to see you at the holidays and didn't get to say hi, so it's good to have you here tonight. You know what, there's so much to be grateful for, and we drove by a house on the way here tonight that had everything out on the lawn that should have been in their house. I don't know how to reconcile that. So I'm grateful that however we got here tonight, we're here, and for those who are at home, I'm grateful that you're able to watch on something. And I will put out there again, we have resources. Please let me help if I can. So we're going to end these moments of gratitude with the Chatima, with the prayer at the bottom of page 68. So we'll say that one together. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'cha na'eh lehodot. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose goodness deserves thanks and praise. Amen. We are going to turn to our prayer for peace on page 70 with the singing of Shalom Rav. We turn our books to page 77 as we turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing. Those of us in this room, those who we were praying for last week but who are back in this room, those of us on live stream or in our lives in this world who are in need of healing. We think of them, and if you feel moved so much to say their names out loud, I invite you to do so we know that you are in a fragile state and we can join you in prayer. But saying it inside, I hope and I pray, is just as powerful. So any names you have for healing. For all those names, we join together now. Again, we're on page 77. I know that we had names for the congregation and I forgot to pull them out of my folder. So we are also thinking of Sarah Gassman, Terry Gilner, Barbara Storensis, Svidov Ben Binyamin Vishendel, Jordana Fuller, Jahim John and Cherie Hershey, Goran Kissick, Bob Sheehan, Stan Silverberg, Marcia Turkin, and Matthew Sternberg Yee. We pray for all those names you said and all these names on this list. We pray Refuat HaNefesh for Refuat HaGuf and Refuat Shleima, complete and total healing. And yet, if that healing doesn't come in a way that we understand, we're still grateful that we can say those prayers. And we hope that they know we're praying on their behalf. And let us say, Amen. We're going to take a few moments now for silent meditation. We'll join back together on page 74, immediately following.
Of my
So I have a kind of joke for you. I don't do well with written down things, but I wrote this one down. A visiting priest was attending a man's breakfast in Ohio farm country. He asked one of the impressive older farmers in attendance to say grace that morning. After all were seated, the older farmer began, "Lord, I hate buttermilk." The priest opened one eye and wondered to himself, where was this going? Then the farmer loudly proclaimed, "Lord, I hate lard." Now the priest was overly worried. However, without missing a beat, the farmer prayed on, "And Lord, you know, I don't care much for raw flour either." And just as the priest was ready to stand and stop everything, the farmer continued, "But Lord, when you mix them all together and bake them up, I do love fresh biscuits. So Lord, when things come up that we don't like, when life gets hard, when we just don't understand what you're saying to us, we just need to relax and wait till you are done mixing. And probably it'll be something even sweeter than biscuits. Amen." I saw a video today, clearly spending my time very well, watching on TikTok, and it was a kid who was preaching. And I thought it was awesome that this kid felt so moved by God that he was preaching at his church. And he said, to get juice out of an orange, you have to squeeze it. And to get ketchup out of the tube, you have to squeeze it. And sometimes God has to take a hold of us to get what God really wants out of us, shake us up and squeeze us. And I thought, you know what? What wisdom. God, it's so easy to get stuck in what we are doing. It is so easy. I think it's probably easier than almost anything we do to get stuck in a routine of complacency, of thinking what we know is all we can think about, watching the shows we like, being with the people that make us feel comfortable. And I think there's absolutely a place for each one of those. But just as I said earlier, I do think we need to come out of our comfort zone to grow. I think we need to come out of our comfort zone to have different perspectives, whether we take them on or not, but to at least see them. In fact, we talk about this in Torah study, I see you sitting right there, that you can't study Torah alone, the rabbis teach. And why is that? It's because you already know your opinion. You have to be listening and available to someone else's opinion. Not that that other opinion is necessarily going to change yours, but if you don't challenge your own belief, what's the point? I got my absentee ballot yesterday in the mail, and this came to mind. Did anyone else get theirs in the mail? Thank God. But I'll tell you, I challenged, because the last election I did mail by ballot, and a bunch were not counted. And that made me so nervous to think about this today. How do I make sure my voice counts? Well, I guess I could sit there and fill it out and send it in, and I'm probably going to do that. But I need to do some research before to make sure that my ballot is going to count. Is my signature correct on the back of the envelope? Is that correct signature the same as my driver's license? Because that's actually, I believe, what it has to match. Is there a polling station that maybe if I show up as a rabbi, may influence some other of our congregants who might not have voted to see that there's a rabbi there voting? I don't know. But God, I needed to think about what was not the easiest, which is putting a stamp on it and sending it in. I don't even know if I need a stamp on it. You don't need a stamp. You do or you don't? Okay, I don't know. But you know what? I better look into it, and so better you. All of this. It's okay, don't fight, ladies. Don't fight. We're not debating Torah here. We can all check when we get home. It either says no postage necessary or place a stamp. But I can tell you what, you would not have necessarily looked at the outside of the envelope, and nor did I, if we didn't have this conversation. You see what I mean? We have to get out of our norm. I didn't plug these two wonderful women in the congregation. That was a real discussion. Not al hashamayim, not for the sake of God, but sometimes we just think we know what's right, not out of any ill will, not out of anything of arrogance, just out of we think we're right. And the challenge comes in, especially in these 10 days of awe, in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We cannot be the same people we were last year at this time. We went to Tashlich yesterday. We didn't have a huge group, but we had a group, and it was wonderful. We actually experienced a very robust thunderstorm with no rain while we did Tashlich. the water filled with birds, there were dolphins, nature was alive. And I kept thinking, you know what, I just threw in a piece of bread for something I threw in last year. Oh, I hate that feeling. And then I threw in a few more pieces and I thought differently, and then got a little bit more on autopilot. We started singing and I threw another piece in. That fourth thing I said was something I said last year. And I realized, that matters, to not be complacent. We never want to be the same people where we were. Not that anything was wrong with who we were last year, but if we didn't grow this year, if we didn't address some of our challenges in this entire 365 days, are we really progressing as a human being? I learned very early on as a rabbi from a senior rabbi of mine, Rabbi Gary Glickstein. I don't know if anyone knows him. He was at Temple Beth-El in Miami Beach for almost 30 years. And every time he returned the Torah to the ark, he turned around and said to the congregation, "May I never return the Torah to this ark the same person." And we've talked about that in Torah study. May we never return to this Torah portion next year at this time the same people. So why do we have such a hard time? Why do we keep returning, I think, as maybe not the same person, but with a lot of the same behaviors, a lot of the same beliefs, a lot of the same ease to say things that we think are right that may not be the only way to be right? There's something I think of all the time, and Cecile and I talked about it all the time. I can be standing on this side of a number 6, and to you it's a 9. We are both right. Both of us. But if you are over there saying it's a 9, and I'm stuck saying I am positive this is a 6, not even if we're fighting, like the stamps, we're both right. What if someone has a different perspective? What if someone's religion has a different perspective? What if they call God a different name or not God at all? What if I'm positive for me, my Judaism is right, and they're positive for them, something else is right? I've got to hear them say that. We have to face the differences that we have. I was very clear on Rosh Hashanah. I wasn't going to stand up here ever, frankly, and talk Israeli politics or American politics. I'll mention anti-Semitism, and it's rampant, and we need to talk about it. But I can tell you there's another side to every side. There is one people thinking this is my land, and other people thinking this is my land, and 5 more people thinking they're right or they're wrong. That doesn't mean we silence our opinions. Contrary, we must share our opinions, but we have to get educated on the other opinions, because everyone else is not necessarily wrong. And I'm not even saying what I think, and you can all hear what I'm saying. There's a lot of right answers and a lot of wrong answers. And we need to educate ourselves. And how do we best educate differently than we have? We listen to other people, and we read, and we show up. Right? The group went to Trinity Cafe today for a second day, Rosh Hashanah, to do a mitzvah. That's a very different group that we're serving at that time. All human, all blood, all, people who care about their families. But there's got to be more commonality there. There has to be more similarities there. And yet, even in the differences, there's got to be more understanding there. When I was first a pulpit rabbi, I was unbelievably blessed. I got to do solicitations for donations. And I was able to solicit one of Miami's largest philanthropists and was able to receive $1 million for my youth program, which really was pretty unbelievable as a new rabbi and in general when you think about how much money that is. And his goal was to teach our juniors and seniors in high school how to have difficult conversations about Israel. And the program ran junior and senior year of high school, and they met weekly, and we had conversations with politicians. We read Israeli newspapers, different sides of everything that was going on. And then we followed those kids to college, freshman and sophomore year. And freshman and sophomore year, they had to teach one class at Hillel. They had to take a Jewish studies class at their university. They had to engage in 2 programs that actually stood up for things that they did not believe in. And they had to keep a journal the whole time. And if they completed the whole 4 years of this program, they then received a stipend. So the $1 million was divided up amongst 4 years. And we taught them how to sit at a table with people who think differently than they do. Initially, this donor's thought was, how do we teach them to stand up for Israel? And even he, who is extremely strong in his views of Israel ended up shifting what the program's goal was by the end, by our first cohort. We ran 4 cohorts of this because he realized it's not about getting his view to the other people. It was about them having enough information to make their own views and then to sit at the same table with other people. What an unbelievable idea. Were any of you told you don't talk politics or religion at the table? Do you know what? I think if we did, we'd be in a very different place. Did any of you talk politics at the table or religion? Some people did, and I would say within Judaism more often than a lot of faiths. But I can tell you at the youth service yesterday at Mini Minion, there's one family who had 2 girls that just spoke up so beautifully about their beliefs about the world. A 5th grader and a 1st grader. And I have a feeling, and I don't know this for sure, but I have a feeling their dinner time conversations include a lot of topics that maybe ours didn't. And they were talking about sea level rising, and they were talking about food insufficiency, and talking about shelter, and about Israel, and about a 2-state. So I didn't even know they knew these things. But maybe it's because we have to start having some of these tough conversations. I'm not going to tell you what to say at the conversations, but I am going to challenge all of us, including myself, to sit down at more tables with people who maybe don't think the same way we do. Now, you can't change someone's mind who isn't open to sitting at that table with an open mind, right? So there's a point where you don't sit at the table. But if you truly can sit at this table and join a real, honest conversation, I think we can actually end up becoming not just stronger in our own beliefs, but stronger as humanity, because we can see that there are different ways to look at the world. I want to end with something that Jacob Rees said. When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stone cutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet, at the 101st blow, it will split in 2. And I know it's not that it was that blow that did it, but all that had come before. I hope that we enter into these days of awe, reminding ourselves that all the work we do creates who we are, what we think, and the world that we create. And that sometimes all of those conversations and interactions and relationships that come before a change are what actually drive a change. And imagine a world where that change is actually peace. Imagine. It sounds so aspirational. I think back to the Passover Seders of my grandma's youth where they said, next year in Jerusalem, and there was no such thing as Israel at that point. And they still said it. Sadly, I'm going to stand here and say, next year, a world of peace. I don't know that my next conversation is going to bring it, nor yours. But I'm going to keep having the conversations, and I pray that we all continue having these conversations. Shabbat Shalom. Sometimes we have a song after that. But that is my bad for not looking at it. I know what we're doing. Remember how I kept you guys here for almost 3 hours yesterday? We're going to shorten it a little bit. So please rise for the Aleinu. Yeah, one sec. Oh, no stamp. Sit at the table together. Amazing. I don't know if that's the way we handle it, but I would love to call Ezra, Ariel, and Ilana up to please open the ark, and the congregation please turn to page 78 for the words of Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula le'otzer reshit, shalo asanu k'gaya haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpichot ha'adama, shalo sam chalkenu kahem, ve'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, va'anagnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני
Page 86. This week, we have a few members that we are thinking of who have yet to be buried, so although we don't traditionally say Kaddish for them, I would like to mention their names before we mention those of our recent passings. We think of Ron Frankel and of Darren Schnur. The recent deaths in the past 30 days, those who are still in Shloshim, we think of Patricia Nelson, Peter Gray, and Marty Winston. And the yearly anniversaries, the yahrzeits, we think of David Baer, Angelina Bellardo, Ann Bennett, Andrea Green-Blasky, Adam Churchak, Cecil Lee DeGennaro, Don Irwin, Pauline Esrick, Cizravel Futnik, Florence H. Gans, Raymond Garskoff, Martha E. Gray, David Helms, Benjamin Caton, Charles Kess, Alice Lunsk, Aubrey Marcus, Julia Moses, Janet Newman, Jesse Palmer, Fred Perlman, Joel Prower, Stuart Reamer, Sherry Richmond, Rose Weisensweig, Thelma P. Rothman, Lillian Schaefer, Harry Schnabel, Lily Schumann, Anita Scher, Fanny Sonnenborn, Arthur Trock, Solomon Weinberg, and Vivian Yaffin. Again, we also think a special mention of those who lost their lives a year ago on October 7th. If I mispronounce your loved one's name, I'm sorry. I ask you to please say the name again, as well as any additional names you'd like to add for mourning.
Alfred Frank Ash.
Dakota Tayo.
We join together as we all rise and turn to page 86 for the words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach cherutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Bevarach Leolam Olmei Olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei Dekudesha B'richu. Le'ela ul'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru Amen. Zichronam Levracha, may their memories forever be a blessing and a lesson for how we can live our lives. And let us say Amen. You may be seated. It's my honor to call up the most incredible helper of the high holidays ever, Rebecca Barancic, to give announcements. She's like the most humble, so I'm positive I'm embarrassing her, but I could not have done it without her, to share some announcements. Thank you.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you, Rabbi, for all of your inspiring words this evening, as well as over the holidays. I think everyone would agree with me. And we're looking forward to hearing you on Yom Kippur as well. And Logan, yes, you were the best usher coordinator ever. Thank you. And Joyce. Thank you, Joyce, for all of your beautiful music tonight, and that you're able to summon up still so much more beautiful energy tonight after everything you did for us yesterday, so thank you. Everyone else, I would love to refer you to your Shabbat handout. You can see tomorrow there's a mini minyan, which is for young people under some birth to third grade. But I happened to go last month, and I learned a lot, so you might go also. You can see that there's a community event on Monday in honor of the October 7th event. And then, of course, coming up, we have Yom Kippur next Friday night. And then Saturday, of course, all day, including a Break the Fast that's here that I believe you still can RSVP for. I'm not sure. Yesterday we spent so much time praying in the sanctuary, and we'll do that again on next Friday and Saturday. But we also all have the opportunity to pray with our feet and with our hands, as many of you did today at Trinity Cafe. And I'm sure all weekend long there are places where you can help out with hurricane recovery. So you can even ask me about that, because as you may know, Scott's organizing a lot of the helping. So please let me know. And Steve is doing something also.
I need to add Tuesday, Steve.
Can everyone hear Steve? People at home, welcome. I'll repeat, or Steve's going to now take over. Shabbat Shalom. Sorry, Rabbi. This is how we sometimes have to roll. That's right, no control.
Shabbat Shalom. Let's see, one thing for Saturday, one for Sunday. For tomorrow at 10:30, if you're looking to help with something, we're going to meet at Mike and Carol Einstein's house. That has significant, I guess to say, total loss of their home, their dock, everything. So we're going to be helping them get stuff out of their house tomorrow at 10:30. The last 4 days I've been helping a family on St. Pete Beach clean out their home. And this is a real interesting gratitude thing. They had 4 electrical fires as the water came up. And the wife said, "Thank God that our house flooded, otherwise it would have burned down." So as it came up, it put the fire out. Sunday, in here it says that the schmooze is at 8:45. There was an email sent out today that because of a lack of Sunday school teachers, they're splitting. There's 2 different sessions for Sunday school. So we're going to have the Brotherhood schmooze from 10 to noon. So if you're planning on coming at the early hour to help put the schmooze together, you can sleep in a little. Although I'll probably get there a little early and have some coffee ready and maybe a cold Diet Pepsi. Maybe. So just for your planning, if you're going to be there. And we always need help with the Brotherhood schmooze on Sundays. But today, so if you can get there around 9 and help us start putting things together to serve from 10 to noon, that would be great. Thank you. I'm done.
At this point, it's a speakeasy. Would anyone like to share their comments? Yes. No, I think that it's important that we still, go out and help, and still go out and look for places where we can help. I know that, where's my note? I had a note for you. That we need to make sure, because we still need housing for some people, and we still need transportation for some people. And although I can fund some of that, I don't actually have locations for those resources. So that's a specific ask that I am asking for, would be places to live. They could be temporary that turns into permanent, or temporary that allows us to find additional temporary, as well as transportation. We have been giving many Uber rides, handing those out to people, but that is a Band-Aid, and we know it. And I think that we have plenty of people that could come together with the Band-Aids and create an actual vehicle or a location where people could be. I do want to put out there, if anyone has connections to hotels, that possibly we could connect with them. And I don't know the congregation well enough yet to know if we have any, I don't even know the word, people who do hotels. But I think we do. I do think we do. So just keep brainstorming if you have a connection, because people obviously need places to sleep. Also, Susan Marcus has lovingly volunteered that she has furniture that she would like to give to people who are in need, and she has some of that for sale and some of that for giving, and so please speak to her about that. I think what we'll end up doing is in our next few weeklies, turn the bottom part of it into what people have and what people can share and what people need. Because I think that we need to be a clearinghouse. This is mitzvah on the largest scale, right? Giving anonymously. And I want to thank Allison. Oh, she's not in here right now. In the absence of an ED, I've asked each of our staff to step up. And weekly, we have a rotation of which of my staff will be here to serve as the greeter from the staff's point of access into all of our programming. So tomorrow at Mini Minion, tonight is Shabbat, the high holidays. It actually is a wonderful way to our staff to come together, which is an interfaith staff. But it's also a wonderful chance for you all to interact with our staff. So Allison is, although she's my assistant, she does so much more in the office, mostly because I have a hard time sharing, but also because she did all of our honors with Rebecca. She does all the B'nai Mitzvah coordinating with scheduling. She does all of the, she does a lot. Ask her what she does. I would love you to have that conversation because I think that they are as much a part of our congregation as the clergy are. So we are going to end with Osei Shalom and Motzi. I'm going to invite you. Yes? Sure?
I'm Susan Marcus.
Sorry.
I have furniture to give away. I want to let you know that there'll be pictures in the
Oh, yeah, you have to pick it up.
and the making of the bird tomorrow, so you'll be able to see what is being given away. I just ask that you come prepared to take it with you. I can't carry it, I can't do anything else. You can your own transportation and your way of getting it out of my car. My address will be on there, so you know where it is.
Wonderful, thank you. So we're still getting round collas. We special ordered round collas because Publix did not get their delivery because of the storm. So Tracy Nash, our bookkeeper, went ahead and ordered us halot from New York, which have arrived. But they're not pre-sliced because the custom is often to tear, not to pre-slice. It's the difference between Ashkenaz and Sephardic, and I don't know who's out here, and I want you to tear. So we're going to join together Motzi and then the prayer, the song and the prayer of Osei Shalom. Feel free that when you are going to another place after this, that you take someone with you to sit at your table that maybe you have not taken to your table before. Metaphorical or actual. Let's try to have some bigger conversations, tougher conversations. Yes, Nancy?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz Shabbat Shalom. Let's get your hands. Osei Shalom B'Romai, Osei Shalom Aleinu, Be'adon Yisrael, Be'adon Yoshvi Tevel, Be'imru, Amen.
Yeah, no,